Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you. Once again, another weather update with this winter storm. Hope you've been having a good afternoon, have power, have heat, and just enjoying your Saturday as best you can as this winter storm continues. The heavier precipitation continues to progress across the northern and western parts of the state at this hour. We're still getting, however, these lighter waves moving through central Oklahoma, and temperatures aren't cooperating. So this is the fly in the ointment that's really starting to annoy me here, as temperatures aren't quite warming up as rapidly as they need to be to keep that threat out of the complete Oklahoma City metro area. At first, I had the threat hanging on through El Reno, but looks like I'm going to have to backtrack that closer to I-35 for the rest of this evening. So if you're going out, just keep in mind the bridges and overpasses could still freeze up because we're teetering right around 31 to 32 degrees. It'll be a very close call. The more you travel north and west of town, the colder it gets by a couple of degrees. So things this evening should deteriorate with the loss of the daytime sun. So let's tell you what, let's take a look at a couple of the maps. You know, that's what I like to do is just get right into it. So I want to thank you again for watching AT's Weather. This AT's Weather broadcast is brought to you by Road Angel. It's actually built into my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go. So if you find yourself slipping and sliding on the side of the road and get stuck in a ditch, you can hit that button and get some help. So I think it's a really valuable tool you can use, especially during the wintertime. And it's in your back pocket, so that's pretty good. All right, let's get on to the maps here. And I want to show you the first thing is the radar view. And you can see how Tulsa has warmed up above freezing. So you guys up there, no problem. I know a lot of you are going to the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, at least some friends up there. So that's not going to be an issue. I think you're going to be fine. And if you head down toward the turnpike, it's still pretty much above freezing until you get to, near Chandler. It gets right around 32, but it's 32 plus, not 32 minus. So again, if you see a 32 number on this map, I think you're okay because we're at 32 point something degrees, which means there's going to be liquid. It's once you get between 31 and 32 is where you'll start to see some icing on the elevated surfaces. And so that stretches on back in Oklahoma City and then back out west toward Hobart, Elk City, Weatherford, I-40, and then of course up in northwest Oklahoma. They've been getting more of the heavy precipitation. And we're starting to get some more ice totals coming in as far as amounts are concerned. They're just now trickling in here to northwestern parts of the state, so we'll see how much they get over time. So I want to kind of show you the radar view and how things still progress, and we still have a lot more activity down here in southwest Oklahoma. And this activity continues to work its way northward on into the body of the state from Texas. So the storm system itself has got a lot more precipitation with it, and that means a lot more rainfall for the southern plains, and then of course that rain will transition on over wherever it's cold enough for freezing weather. And you can see that stretches with all these warnings and advisories all up in Kansas and Nebraska, Missouri, and Iowa, and all that stuff. So it is a huge, or you could say huge, winter storm. And as we said, it's kind of an ice storm at this particular point. Not a lot of snow with this system at all. Maybe a little bit on the backside on Sunday up here the north of us, but nothing here expected for Oklahoma. So let's get on to some of the other things I want to show you. And here are road conditions out there across the state. And you can see a lot of green on the map from ODOT. That's good news. Even right here in the metro, traffic's moving along at a pretty good clip. If you head up the road toward the turnpike, if you're going to be heading on out, looking good. And even into Tulsa, looking good there as well. A bigger picture of the state itself, the only places reported so far just for some moderate conditions. A couple of areas here in northwest Oklahoma around Blaine, and also down in Kiowa County, of course up around Woodward. These colors have been coming on and off throughout the course of the day. They've all been blue in nature though, so I haven't seen any delays or closed roads as of here today really, or even recently. Power outages were also looking good there at OG&E. We had something in the city earlier, but that's already been taken care of. Here's one up here in northwest Oklahoma in Hopeton for about 148 of you there. So power outages have been behaving very well today. Road conditions very well. Ground temperatures, even those are very well, which is helping the roadways. We've got some, let me zoom this map in for you. As you can see this, we've got temperatures about 2 inches below the ground into the mid 30s here in northwest Oklahoma, and right around 38 to 40 degrees or so here in the metro, and in the 40s east. So that's also kind of helping to keep those roads under control. So if you are going out this evening, again, bridges and overpasses, you got to be careful of. They don't have the luxury of the ground or, of course, the lack of the sun now. And we've still got that freezing drizzle report at the airport. It's temperature of 31 degrees, a dew point of 30. So freezing drizzle fog, that continues, and that will continue throughout the evening. And we just kind of keep adding up these little 100ths in the bucket with all this precipitation. So it's not a lot, which is good news. But there's other waves coming in this evening, and models are persistent on bringing some much heavier waves into central Oklahoma overnight. And with that freezing rain close enough to us, it makes me leery. The latest ice forecast from the Weather Service has really reduced amounts here in central Oklahoma, and points north and west still up around ½ inch or so. And I really tell you what, let me minimize this here. I got to start something I didn't start before. So yeah, do that. Start this up. Okay. Get this back on. I like to draw on here for you, so I'm trying out this new drawing program and see how much I like it. But I have a sneaky suspicion that we might end up getting a maximum here just on the west side of Oklahoma City with additional ice accumulations. That would be very frustrating to finally see the ½ inch or more of ice pop up, but at the wrong time period. In other words, that was all supposed to have happened by now, not by tomorrow morning. And that would be the frustrating part for me as a meteorologist, because that means that you're like a day late and a dollar short on that aspect. Yeah, we've still got the ice around. It just didn't materialize as much on the accumulation side. But for it to kind of keep piling on into tonight, it's like insult to injury. But at least we get the ice totals to verify the forecast, even though the amount's good, but the timing's bad. The whole thing's just a very complicated mess, and it's been a difficult forecast in that regard. All right, let's take a look at the upper level storm system out here. So the low is right here, and it's going to kind of shoot on like this and come right up here as we head into Sunday night. So that's the track of this beast, and all the moisture you can see has been kicking out ahead of it right here into the southern plains, and that's been bringing us all the cloud cover and, of course, all the precipitation. And what models do not see, especially when they're out over the water, like this one was for quite a while, is it cannot detect little disturbances embedded within it. There'll be just little bitty spokes on a wheel that will kick across, and any one of these spokes can flare up a good round of precip, and that precip will work its way on in Oklahoma. So that's why these upper level lows are very dangerous when they're down here in the southwest. The models can't sample them very well, but we always know they've got something dirty in them, and typically that spells a lot of trouble for us. This one has behaved for the most part. We haven't had any huge waves of just ridiculous amounts of precip, which is what we normally have in this situation, and that's really helped to keep those temperature or the amounts of ice totals very low, all things considered. When you get 24 hours, 36 hours of nothing but freezing rain and freezing drizzle, even though it's extremely light, and for not to accumulate very much, you're thanking your stars for that. So here's a look at the replay, or not the replay, the future radar, I should say. And you can see this little line here, which is a freezing line, which again is out of the woods for Tulsa. You guys are in the clear. It comes right into basically the I-35 corridor here in Oklahoma City, and then kind of jogs out here to the west-southwest down toward Lawton. And so that'll be the line that's going to sit there tonight. I don't expect it to move very much. But we won't really warm up overnight, but we're not really cool down overnight either. We're just going to kind of sit there. As we go through time here, here's Saturday, of course, there's Saturday evening. Here we go to the Sunday, Saturday evening from 7 o'clock here, next couple of hours. You can see a big wave moving on through all that purple here on the map, especially right here on the El Reno area, very dark. So what the model does, once we look at the totals here, is start to really add this stuff up. And that kind of wave moves on out, and we'll have some other lighter stuff here this evening. And then tomorrow we'll look for the northwestern Oklahoma for the next wave of rain to come on in. And then the freezing rain out here Sunday morning should abate as we head into the noon hours, temperatures start to warm. But again, so northwest Oklahoma will be the last to see the end of the freezing rain. So let's go back to those ice totals we talked about. This will take us through, let me see, this one do it? Yeah, let's go to this one. Okay, so the precipitation totals in general through Sunday morning. This is just rain totals, without the fact of them being frozen over or anything. It's got a lot of blue on here on the map, which on the scale behind my head there is 3/10 to about 7/10 or 8/10, and then goes kind of white once you get toward an inch. So you can see how there's a lot of heavy rain predicted here in north central and west central Oklahoma. Ironically, it's got a big dry slot out here in western Oklahoma with not a lot going on. And then another hot spot here, which continues on into Kansas. Speaking of Kansas and those ice estimates, here is a look at that in this particular detail. So this is looking at the ice accumulations expected by the short-term model here through, let me see, what time was this? Okay, so through about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you can see here in central Oklahoma, like I talked about, north central specifically, in the metro on the southeast side, you know, we're talking I-35 itself, only a tenth of an inch. But you go a little farther north, maybe into Edmond, or you head out toward, like I said, El Reno, and all of a sudden these numbers jump up to some ridiculous totals. Now, here's the deal. The models, you know, they led me astray. So I am not going to bite on this extreme higher numbers. I'm just going to basically divide them in half because that's what the reality's been so far. You know, fool me once, you know, shame on, was it fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So yeah, I'm not playing that game. If you look up north in the Kingfish, I know I heard a lot, Enid, I know a lot of you heard from me today going, hey, I'm not getting any ice up here, it's bone dry, or I got hardly anything. Well, if the model's right, this, you would end up with an inch of ice. And again, I don't think that's going to happen, but you're going to get probably a half inch of ice in Enid, which jives with the forecast from before. So like I said, I'm just going to divide these numbers by 2 and call it good. You can still see some more up here in northwest Oklahoma, and there's that little dry slot action out here in west that we mentioned. Now, up here in Kansas, the activity will start to shift northward. So I know Kansas has been under the gun here for a while as far as the advisories are concerned, but really hadn't seen much for the body of the state. Well, that's going to change. You get the heavier amounts here on the southern, let's say, half of the state, even stretching on back into eastern parts of Colorado. And this region here, anywhere in here, will be fair game for about an inch of ice to as much as an inch in some cases, especially kind of, I think in this corridor will be some of the higher amounts that will fall out of that, and then we'll see if there's a little hot spots there. So that's a total look at your ice expected here for the next, well, 12 hours or so as we head on into tomorrow morning. Let's see, we've looked at ground temps, we've looked at the road conditions, we've looked at traffic, we've looked at the upper level storm system itself. Oh, one thing we didn't look at here, I want to show you in Oklahoma City, some of the temperature reports coming in from the Oklahoma Mesonet. So we're 31 degrees here in northern Oklahoma City. If you head out here toward Tinker, we're 32. If you head out here toward Norman, we're 32. So, and even at the airport here, it's 32 over 30. Of course, the airport observation was 31 over 30, so they're splitting hairs out there. So roughly the freezing line kind of runs from, as we said, from Chandler, kind of goes down the turnpike here, cuts through Jones. They're right about 31. Right to about I-35 is 31 degrees. And then it creeps on down to just right around the Newcastle area, and then down to just 32 below as we head on to Chickasha. So it's north of Chickasha. So this kind of cuts the metro in half. Now with time, I think this line will kind of come this way just a hair. So we're looking, the final line here for this evening as far as ice is concerned, I'll redraw this, is going to be roughly I-35, then kind of splitting the metro in half, going right through the airport, and then back out here to the west. So that means that there's still a good ice threat here for the western sides and the north sides of Oklahoma City, out toward Bethany, Yukon, Mustang, Union City, El Reno, Piedmont. Once you get, again, along east of I-35 and down here toward Moore, you should be fine. Norman should be fine. Choctaw, Jones, Arcadia, Luther, all of you guys should be fine, and Newcastle should be okay for the most part. So just kind of watch for some bridges and overpasses freezing up here this evening if you're traveling. Like I said, roads have been pretty decent so far. Cannot guarantee, though, that will be the case for this evening. Again, I'm not a road temperature expert. I can just tell you that the weather continues to do what it's doing and give you a timeline for that. So if you've just joined me, had the forecast scrolling across the top of this. I'm going to stop this stop this broadcast. You can go back and replay it and see what you missed. But we basically just gave you a real recap of what's been happening and what is expected to happen. It's typical stuff we do here. And I think that was about it. So again, I'll put this map up here during the, well, there we go. when I'm back off of this and I'll start another Facebook Live, you won't get a notification for it. It'll just run on my Facebook page and also on my YouTube channel, which is through my website, AaronTuttleWeather.com. And so you can just watch this animate, and you can see these waves of precip move in, and you can see how these temperatures do fluctuate or change in your area. And I do expect, again, accumulating ice still to continue here across parts of Oklahoma for tonight. And then Sunday, everything starts to thaw out. We start to warm up, and a big storm system comes in out west. We'll have some strong storms moving through, believe it or not, and producing 1 to 2 inches of rain, which could lead to some flooding. And that will signal the end of this entire nonsense of this particular storm. So I have looked down the road in the future, and the weather pattern is going to change again. We're going to be warm this week. There will likely be severe weather that breaks out Sunday of next weekend. But right now, the timing of the system is, of course, again, we're way away from this. But right now, the timing indicates it's out of phase for Oklahoma, and it's basically all the states east of us would see some storms, severe storms on Sunday. But like I said, we are well away from that, and we'll see what happens with that. And then once that happens, the storm system responsible for it is going to tap into some Arctic air that'll be building into northern Canada. And then that'll slip on down here. And then guess what? It's off the western coastline. Another storm system just like this one, kind of spinning its wheels. So it's yet to be determined. That would be in the 15 day window when that would arrive. So we'll see what happens. That puts us in the last few days of the last week of January for another winter storm here in Oklahoma. So that is a long range, long look away, and we'll see what happens with that. Until then, let's just still get through this one, and we'll see how this one fares and how we fare across the state. So if you're going to be out and about this evening, be careful. Otherwise, I'll once again start another radar going up for you, and do thank you for joining me here. No questions this time around. I typically try to end this with some questions, but I got to run around and do some other things. So I do appreciate your time, though, and thanks for watching AT's Weather. We'll talk with you soon.